once upon a time, there was a couple of guys out fishing, and they really liked fishing a lot. Fishing was a big deal for these guys. And they were old friends, and they spent a lot of time together at the river. And so they were out fishing, and you know how fishing is. Patience, all that kind of stuff. Well, eventually one of the guys actually hooked a pretty big fish. It was so big that it pulled him out of the boat. Went over the side. He's underwater. Couldn't hang on. Let go. And then noticed something glimmering at the bottom of the riverbed. And grabbed it. He made his way up to the surface. And then shook himself off and encountered the One Ring. Now, he didn't know it was the One Ring, but he knew it was his ring. Right away, there was no doubt about that. He was very interested in this ring. It was very compelling. It just went right into his DNA, right into his psyche. Oh, right. Now, his buddy eventually caught up with him. Maybe you've heard the story, right? So there's no point in me dragging out the telling other than it's fun. But his buddy came out, and as soon as he could feel the vibe of that ring, he was all about it, right? And of course, happened to be his Smeagol's birthday, so he asked for it. Friend wouldn't give it to him, and the desire for this thing completely took what was two friends over until one was left breathing with the ring. And of course, what happened was, now he was the possessor of this precious thing. It was his. He had it. And as we all know, it drove him mad. He had to leave society. It drove him further and further away from community, more and more into isolation. But he had this precious thing. Prolonged his life, made him crazy, made him insane. Now, the story goes on, but today we're going to go see the Hobbit movie at 3:30. And so I've loved Tolkien for just forever, and I've always felt that there's some very strong dharmic archetypes kind of embedded, you know, in Tolkien's writing. I mean, not only is the story really good, but the writing's amazing, I think. But the archetypes that are in there, very Buddhist, actually, from my point of view. In Gollum, we have a really, really clear example of what's called a hungry ghost, right? Reverend Dawn gave a long workshop not long ago about the 6 realms. One of the realms is the hungry ghost realm. And the kind of creature that inhabits that, or the kind of mental space we're in when we're in that space, is an unsatisfiable longing that there is no way of quenching. And it's kind of interesting, because if you have any of those images of Gollum sitting there like toying with the ring, right, it's right there, but it's never enough, right? He's got it, supposedly, but it's never satisfying, but it constantly draws him into more and more. Now, the traditional Buddhist image for this is a ghost, is a character that's got really big eyes and a huge big mouth, and a really big stomach that's waiting to be filled, but there's this really pencil-thin little neck. It's bizarre looking if you see the creatures. But the image is that there's this huge eye and huge mouth, huge appetite, but no way to actually swallow anything. There's no way to satiate it. And so they live in this realm of constant unsatisfiableness. And that's a space that we can all get into. It's a human space. It's not really just some other realm somewhere else. It's a space that you can, lo and behold, find yourself in, seemingly beyond your capacity to choose otherwise. Smeagol didn't wake up that day deciding to become crazy. It didn't work like that. He's not really portrayed as an evil character right from the beginning. You know, he's not always been a Sith. You know, he's just a guy. He's a fisher guy. But then this powerful thing came in and pulled on his DNA. Can anybody relate to that besides me in the room? I mean, I think if we think about it with any degree of clarity, I think every one of us could articulate at least a few versions of the One Ring. Things that, upon encountering them, everything goes down to this one thing, which no matter how much of it you have is never enough, right? And the qualities in this story are very accurate to me. You have the thing, and it's never enough, and you're driven to isolation. That's basically the deal. So you're alone, doing that thing again, right? You're just off by yourself, trapped in that vortex. Now, let's be honest, that happens. That definitely happens. It's not like if you find yourself in that space, you're the only person in the room ever to have been there. Come on. We're all human. This is how it is. However, there is, in the Dharma, a way of waking up from that. And here's the big thing. It's not that the ring no longer has appeal. It's not that if you sit long enough and meditate deep enough, you won't feel the pull of the precious. You're going to feel the pull of the precious. That's the way the precious works. Right? There's no way of you getting beyond that. Gandalf wanted it. The elf queen maiden, whose name I don't remember, wanted it. Galadriel, thank you. Like you, yes. You know, Aragorn, I mean, all the characters feel the pull of this thing. That's not up for question. That's not, there's no thing you can do to get away from the fact that you want the ring. It's how you deal with that desire. That's what you can work with, see. And one of the big tipping points here is if you get into that place of addictive craving, that kind of whole shutters are on, all you can see is this thing. The thing is, what do you do with that? Realize that the fact of your feeling that pull is neutral. It is not indication of some flaw or fault or problem or something's wrong with you that the next person doesn't have to deal with. Everybody's got versions of that. That's the way it is, right? A lot of times, when I'm talking with people, trying to help, that there's this sense that because I feel the tug of the ring, something's wrong with me. And that right there exponentially increases the suffering. There's nothing wrong with you feeling the pull of the ring. Hello. It's a nice ring. Right? It's powerful. It's all these different things. So whatever the ring is for you, and it'll change over time. You know, I mean, the reality is the ring also turns to dust, and then you grab for something else, and it keeps going on like that. But the fact of feeling the tug of the ring is no big deal, and I really hope you hear that. That's really important. Every character in the story feels the pull of the ring, even the guy who made it. Right? What's up for conversation is what you do with that desire. How do you wield the fact? And there are some characters that can't help it. They encounter the ring and they're all about it. There's some characters that fight with it for a while and then try to take it and then repent, right? There's some characters that right away can feel the tug of this thing and go, all right, I need to respect this. And they reach out to other people, right? But they all come to a moment of making a decision. And the decision always looks the same. It's like, I have long desired this. I will not say that my heart has not longed for this. Right? That's the first step. That's really honest. Yeah, that's interesting to me. It pulls on me, yeah. And I'm not going there. Right? Maybe play with it a little bit if you have to. Figure out, oh, it's hot, I don't like it. And you make a different decision. When we think about what happens when you get into the pull of the precious, You become alone, fixated, you can't see anything else, that's all that there is. When you're able to feel the pull of the precious but not be swayed by it, you're in touch with other folks. You're in touch with a wider view of yourself and of the world, and it includes the pull of the ring. So when we read the Love and Kindness Sutra here, it says, this is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and knows the path of peace. This is the point. Goodness is something you train in. Peacefulness is not something that just happens to you. It's something that you train and you become very powerful at. You become powerful in your capacity to be at peace. You can even be severe if it's in the service of real compassion and not lose your peacefulness while you are severe. So it doesn't always look like gentle. It looks like whatever it needs to look like. It goes down in here, wishing in gladness and safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or tall, the seen, the unseen, near and far away, born and to be born, may they all be at ease. It's the complete opposite of my precious, I want this. So, I invite you to think about it a little bit. It's a fun story. Unless you hate the story, that's fine. Some people really don't like the story. But think about it a little bit. What's the pull for you? I mean, it can be anything. It can be fame. It can be anonymity. It can be fitting in. It can be being the radical one who doesn't fit in. I mean, it really, you can make anything the precious. But think about it. You know, what are the things in your own practice? Is it sleep? That's my favorite. I get pulled to the nap. My precious nap. And sometimes it's fine to take a nice nap, and I do. Sometimes it's not really the right thing for me to be doing, and I know it. Right? So think about it for yourself, and think about it in your own practice. And whatever the ring of attraction is for you, know what that is. Every character in that story knows what the ring is. They got that. Right? Those are the ones who actually are able to fend it off in some way, live with it peacefully, transform themselves in relationship to it. In Buddhism, one of the things I really appreciate about our Buddhist practice is that it's very scientific about the mind. We get really into how does this desire and craving, how does that function? What's the healthy version of it? What's the not so healthy version of it? And how is it that we get so hooked into things? Right? Further on in here it says, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths. This is your stance. This is the stance of a Buddha. Radiating kindness out and open in all directions. And not holding to fixed views. One thing about the ring, when you encounter the ring, everything becomes very locked in and fixed. Everything shuts down. Everything becomes very solid, right? The ring is very solid and it's very fixed and it's very much like that's the answer, right? And in the sutra it says, not holding to fixed views. Not of the ring, not of yourself. If you really look at the ring really closely, it's really not a solid thing. It's the same thing everything else is. It's not fixed. When you can see it like that, when you can see that the ring and yourself and everything else is not separate, then you've really seen through it. Doesn't mean you don't feel the pull of the ring, you still do. But you see it for what it is. So, we'll all go see the Hobbit movie together and hopefully enjoy it, and also take something out of it that's useful if there's anything there for you. Thank you.